Book Review Podcast, a haven for bookworms of all ages and the widest genres, from mystery to memoirs, romance to comedy, fantasy to sci-fi. If you love to read, this is a podcast for you. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sarah, and you may have noticed that it is not Tuesday. No, it is in fact Thursday. It is in fact Thursday, July 4th. So happy 4th of July. I hope you are have had a wonderful day. Depending on where you are, your day might be almost done. Hope you had a wonderful holiday. You were safe. You spent time with family and friends, or however you spent it. Ours was pretty relaxing and nice. I am coming to you on Thursday instead of Tuesday for this interview episode. I've had some health issues this week, and that delayed the recording of this episode. So I'm doing fine, but I apologize for getting this out to you 2 days later than I normally would. At any rate, I do have an interview for this episode, and it is a returning author, which I always find so much fun to have people come back to the podcast. This is one of my interviews, my earlier interviews. Kristin Rockway came on to talk about her first book, Wild Woman's Guide to Traveling the World, and now she has come back with her second novel called How to Hack a Heartbreak. I was very happy to have her back, and let me go ahead and give you the description of this new book. By day, Mel Strickland is an underemployed help desk tech at a startup incubator, Hatch, where she helps the entitled programmers, hatchlings, who can't even fix their own laptops but are apparently the next wave of startup geniuses. And by night, she goes on bad dates with misbehaving dudes she's matched with on the ubiquitous dating app Flutter. But after one dick pic too many, Mel has had it. Using her brilliant coding skills, she designs an app of her own, one that allows users to log harassers and abusers in the online dating space. It's called Jerk Alert, and it goes viral overnight. Mel is suddenly in way over her head. Worse still, her almost boyfriend, the dreamy Alex Hernandez, the only non-douchey guy at Hatch, has no idea she's the brains behind the app. Soon, Mel is faced with a terrible choice, one that could destroy her career, love life, and friendships, or change her life forever. This is, as I'm sure you can tell, a romance. It's a romantic comedy. Mel is, what Mel goes through just makes me want to reach out and hug her. She's got just stuff happening at work. She's got stuff happening in her dating life. And I am so glad that I did not date in the era of dating apps on the phone. I did do some online dating, and Kristin and I talk a little bit about that in the interview, but I am so glad that I did not do dating in this current era, and I am knocking on wood that nothing happens with my husband and I have to go back into the world of cyber dating. Oh, no, thank you. This book was enough to make me say, I'm good. Maybe I'll just become a nun. So that's the description of How to Hack a Heartbreak. I really loved it. It was a lot of fun to read, and just a great summer read if you're looking for something to read over the summer, or if you have a vacation coming up, that would be awesome. Let's go ahead and turn now to that interview with Kristin so she can tell you more about the book How to Hack a Heartbreak.
Hi, Kristin. Welcome back to the podcast. Hey, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
It is wonderful to have you here, and we are here to talk about your new book, How to Hack a Heartbreak. Before we do that, in case people haven't heard your first interview or maybe need a refresher, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I am. My name's Kristin Rockway. I've been writing for my first book came out in 2017. It was called The Wild Woman's Guide to Traveling the World. That was my debut novel. Before that, I was a software developer for about 15 years. But now I'm a full-time writer, and that's why I live in California, I live in Southern California, but I'm a native New Yorker. So I've had a lot of changes, a lot of changes in my life, but that's about it, I guess.
I would imagine that New York to Southern California would be a bit of a culture shock.
It was absolutely a culture shock, yeah. And it took me, there was like a honeymoon period for the first 6 months or so, and then I was really missing New York. But now I've been here over a decade, and I definitely consider myself a Californian, albeit with a Brooklyn accent.
And, no winters has got to be better.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. When I first moved, my family was like, oh, you're going to miss the seasons. You're going to miss the snow. And I was like, nope, don't miss it at all. It's pretty great living in a temperate climate.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can give us a quick overview of How to Hack a Heartbreak, that would be great.
Sure. So it follows, the main character is Melanie Strickland. She's a 20-something. She is living in New York City. She works in IT. She works for a startup incubator called Hatch, which, if you don't know, startup incubators are, just a brief overview. It's people who start startups. They need somewhere to have office space and some initial capital to get, going. So these incubators will kind of host them there, and in exchange for a stake in the company. So she works at a startup incubator, but she does not have her own startup. She's just there to kind of support the other people that have the startups. Like, she fixes their broken laptops and fixes the broken printer, things like that. And the guys that she's working with are kind of, I refer to her in the book as brogrammers. She's like the only woman there, and the guys are all just kind of, they're dicks to her, basically. So she's really frustrated. She's underemployed because she's a kick-ass coder, but this is the job that she has right now. And she's also frustrated. So she's frustrated in her professional life, but she's also frustrated in her personal life because she is, dating online like so many people are these days. And she's working with the hot dating app du jour, Flutter. But she's not having much luck. She's just finding a bunch of guys who stand her up or lie or flake out or send her dick pics. So finally, she gets stood up on a date in front of. She has an office crush. There's one guy in the office that is not a dick. He's actually really wonderful to her. And she's waiting for one of her Flutter dates to show up. This guy Alex walks in, and he's there, and she's totally in love with him. But then she winds up getting stood up by this guy on Flutter. And so she winds up going home and creating Jerk Alert, which is an anonymous website that allows jilted women all over the city to rate their experiences with the men they meet online. So she thinks it's just going to be the small thing, just for her friends, like as a kind of funny joke, but then it unexpectedly goes viral. So then, like any rom-com, things get out of control. Things get out of hand.
Absolutely. And if this were a movie, it would make a great drinking game. For every time the phrase or dick pic was referenced in any way. I'm not sure I've ever read that word as many times in such a confined space.
Oh, I love that my publisher put it on the back, like the copy on the back of the book. When I saw that there, I was like, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So what was your initial inspiration for this story?
Basically, my entire 20s inspired this book because I was living in Brooklyn like Mel. I was working in IT, albeit I wasn't like a help desk coordinator. I was actually a software developer. I was working for a startup. And I was dating online. I was dating a lot of douches I met online. So it's kind of, obviously it's not exactly the same, but that's where I got the inspiration from, being a woman in IT and having a miserable time dating online.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Did you have some similar, I would imagine, some similar experiences to Melanie in terms of those online dates?
I met a lot of guys who were like ghosted and who, I did get stood up once and things like that. But I've been married for 14 years now. So I was kind of dating in the pre-app phase, so like I still had a flip phone. So I was dating on a website when you kind of like didn't necessarily want to tell people that you met someone online because it wasn't like de rigueur like it is right now. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely. So like I never got like dick pics or anything like that, and the harassment wasn't quite the level that it is today. But yeah, it left a lot to be desired.
Yeah. Yes. Did you end up meeting your husband online or another conventional
way?
way?
No, I did. I met him online.
I actually met my husband online as well, but he is the only person I have ever dated from the site. It worked out well. I didn't have to go back online.
You were like, this is terrible. I'll just marry this guy.
Right, exactly.
I don't want to go back out there. It's rough.
He seems fine. I'm just Actually, his story is that he was waiting for a date and she was late, and there was an ad on TV for Match.com, which is where we met. He went online, did the free trial. They sent him my information. We connected, started emailing, and he never went on again.
Oh.
So he didn't have to pay for his. He just got the free trial.
Yeah. See, so I mean, this is fiction. It's a very cynical view of internet dating. People obviously I found, we both found our loves, our HEA. We found it on the internet, but
right.
For every HEA there are a lot more.
Yes, in fact, there is a seemingly happily ever after on this that does not really work out so well in terms of Melanie's friend.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jump in here so we can take our first break of the podcast, but that is a true story. I paid for 6 months of Match.com when I signed up. My now husband logged in, did the free trial. We got connected, and the rest is history. We'll be married 7 years in August, together 9. So again, very glad that I did not have to do that in the world of online dating apps or mobile dating apps. We are going to take that first break. I want to talk to you about something called Care Of. It is a website for a subscription delivery service for vitamins. It is great. I have used it. You go online to takecareof.com and do a quick 5-minute quiz that asks you really intuitive questions about your health goals. Things like, what are those health goals? Are they nutrition? Are they exercise? Are they, what are you wanting to get out of your vitamins and supplements? Are you sleeping well? Do you need more iron? Really easy questions that you answer, and then they put together a recommended package of vitamins and supplements for you based on what you answer on the quiz. You can then alter that package and indicate what you would like, or go into their catalog to choose other supplements. I found it to be great because I'm not so good with the vitamin aisle. I know that I would like to maybe try some supplements, but I go to the vitamin aisle and there are 8 billion choices, it seems like, and I never quite know what I should do. So taking the quiz was great. They put together this personalized package for me, and then they shipped it right to my door. I did not even have to get out of my pajamas to buy vitamins. So I thought that was wonderful. In addition, everything is made with high-quality organic ingredients. You can find out all the nutrition information on their website, and their newest thing is that their vitamin packages are all compostable, which I think is wonderful because you can take care of your own health. You can take care of the health of the planet. If you're interested in trying Care Of, just go to the website takecareof.com and enter the promo code book review, all one word. That's takecareof.com and enter the promo code book review. You'll get 20% off of your first order if you enter that promo code. So check it out, takecareof.com. Thanks. Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast. Before the break, Kristin and I were talking about our online dating experiences, and that is something that, of course, the main character, Melanie, experiences in this book as well. So we're going to turn now to that interview again and talk a little bit more about Melanie as the main character.
Speaking of Melanie, can you talk a little bit about her as the main character? What do you think it is about her that might resonate with readers?
We've all been there, have these frustrating dating experiences or frustrations at work. And I think, this idea of just being fed up and doing something about it, taking action, I think that might really resonate with readers. And I mean, it resonated with me. I felt like I was almost getting like revenge on some things that had happened to me, like through writing this book, right? I was like living vicariously through Mel. So, you know, she has a lot of insecurities and a lot of, you know, self-doubt, but she's able to overcome that and push through and be like, you know what, I'm not going to take this sitting down. Or rather, I will take it sitting down, but I'm going to code, you know, in front of my computer.
Right. Right. And, you know, she is lucky in that she has a really close-knit group of girlfriends who she's not going through all these experiences alone. You know, she has that group that she can vent to and who support her. How would you say those friendships drive certain parts of the story?
Well, when I started this out, I knew I wanted there to be a strong group of girlfriends. I have a very strong group of girlfriends. You know, I'd be lost without them, truthfully. And you know, so I didn't want them to just be kind of like sidekicks. I wanted them each to have their own stories. And I wanted them each to contribute to Mel's story in meaningful ways. And, you know, I don't want to give too much away, but they really do, you know, like they encourage her, or they call her out when she's being ridiculous, right? I really wanted to show that, because I have that with my closest girlfriends, and I really wanted to show that that was a real thing. And you know, yes, the romance is obviously it's a romance, you know, this is a very important part of the story, but I think we would all be lost without our girlfriends.
Mm-hmm. Now, juxtaposed with that wonderful group of close-knit girlfriends are 99% of the men in the story who all basically suck. Did you start out with all of the men sucking, or did they just come across that way as you were writing them?
No, I mean, I did that because it's kind of like, I mean, it's not really a satire, but I did, you know, I wanted it to be a little bit exaggerated, you know, just to show this. And then also, as I was writing this, I started writing this at the end of 2017, I think. And as I was writing, you know, I had this idea because I worked in IT. I wanted this to show this woman who was, you know, a woman in IT, and show the adversities that you face. And at the same time, as I was writing it, the Me Too movement started. So it's not like the Me Too movement like inspired this. It was just sort of like going along at the same time. And I think I was probably feeding off of that a little bit when I was writing, you know, a lot of that, like the feelings of injustice and anger that had been sort of suppressed for a while. They were kind of coming out through this book. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't the plan from the start. I mean, I did know that I wanted to kind of show this, you know, I wanted to have a woman standing up against being treated unfairly. But it was kind of like a snowball kind of building as it rolled down the hill, you know?
Right. And even aside from the men who are just horrible in the dating world, and just the blatant sexism in her workplace, not only from the people that she's trying to help at the help desk, but even her immediate supervisor just, you know, keeps brushing off everything she says, just tells her to keep smiling and not to rock the boat. I just wanted to reach through the pages and slap everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also like, this is fiction, obviously. Like, I worked with a group of men. I don't want this to come off as some like indictment of my coworkers either, because when I first started, I was the only woman in my group. When I was 20, I was like an intern, so that was like super intimidating. But everyone was very welcoming and treated me very well. Did I have problems? Yes, but it wasn't with my immediate coworkers, you know. I actually had some of the things that happened to Mel when she describes in college, you know, how there was like a professor who told sexist jokes in class. I mean, that was me. I was one of like a few women in a computer science class in a huge lecture hall, and he was like telling sexist jokes about women. And I was like, really? I'm supposed to sit through this? And at one time I booed him. I loudly booed him, and that was it. He had it out for me for the rest of the semester.
Oh, geez. This is a little bit off topic, but does that make you just more determined to encourage women and girls to be involved in like STEM subject?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's this great organization called Girls Who Code that supports that, and they have programs for girls, you know, to just kind of encourage them to be in STEM where they're not around people who are making them feel like they're less than, or, you know, they could just focus on the code as opposed to, you know,
having to prove themselves, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you did come from the tech world, but did you still need to do any kind of research for the book?
Oh yeah. Well, I did have to do some research in terms of like some of the locations, like in San Francisco, and then some of like the inner workings of how like a deal is made in Silicon Valley. I think probably the biggest amount of research I did was with regard to the swiping apps, you know, because I've been married for 14 years. I didn't install Tinder, honey, just in case you're listening to this. I did not. You know, I didn't do that, but I do have like my sister, my friends, they're all on it. And, you know, I've seen them swiping, and I mean, it's crazy. Like they'll just sit there and be like, no, you know, like this super split second decisions. So I did some research, you know, secondhand through my friends.
Right.
And their experiences.
How has then writing this book different from writing your first novel?
Well, the first novel was almost easier because I didn't have any kind of plan. I was like, well, you know, yeah, I'll try and get this published. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen, you know, and then it did. And so writing the second novel was harder because I feel like there was more expectation. I had I had a book out there already, and I had an author brand, and, you know, there were readers, and it was really hard. Authors say that like the second book is like super challenging, and they are not lying. It was hard.
Yeah. And so I know you just finished this one and you're in the process of promoting it, but are you working on something else as well?
I am, yeah. It's like a constant thing. I'm doing like 3 things at a time. I'm like promoting this book and like brainstorming another book. And in the meantime, I'm in edits on a book that's coming out next summer. Okay. I don't have a title for it yet. But it's like in the same vein of, you know, How to Hack a Heartbreak and Wall Woman's Guide. It's like a rom-com, women's fiction, centers around a woman. And she's a floundering college dropout who accidentally falls into being an Instagram influencer after she's kind of sucked into this gravitational pull of this lifestyle guru who's like a Goop wannabe. So it kind of explores the self-help industry and like Instagram influencing. Right. And there is a very strong sister relationship in there as well. And a romance, naturally.
Jumping back in here so we can take our second break of the podcast. When we come back, I'll be asking those author questions that probably are obvious to authors and less obvious to me as the show host. But stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast and the conclusion to my interview with author Kristin Rockway about her new book, How to Hack a Heartbreak.
How do you ever find yourself getting things mixed up between your book? I mean, like if you're editing one but you're working on, or you've got ideas going for another one, how do you keep that all straight?
Oh my gosh, it's hard. I have to compartmentalize. Because I have this podcast today, for example, and I'm doing like other interviews, and like I'm really in like, the book's coming out at the end of the month. I'm in like major promo mode. I'm trying to focus like just on How to Hack a Heartbreak, because even though I'm on deadline for these edits, like you have to immerse yourself so completely in a book to be effective, to write your best work. And I find like I was working on this book that's coming out next summer, and then I had to get on a call with my publicist for How to Hack a Heartbreak, and I was lost. Like I totally forgot what was happening. I was using the characters' names for my next book instead, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So I've learned that I have to really, like block my time out so that I'm always in a particular headspace.
Right. And so the book comes out on July 30th. It's July 1st. You're right in the beginning of the month.
I know.
Very exciting. And I see, you can order it in paperback and on Kindle, and the audio book is already going to be available as well. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Did you have, were you involved with the audiobook in any way? Were you able to choose a narrator, or how does that work?
I did, yeah. I got to choose a narrator. They sent me my top 3, and then they sent me 3 and had me rank them, and then my first choice was actually out on maternity leave. So they sent me a new 3. Then I found another narrator. Her name is Amy McFadden, and I listened to a snippet of it, and it's amazing. She's so good.
Nice.
She gets that perfect sort of snarky, cynical, but endearing kind of voice.
Perfect. So, in all of your spare time, because it sounds like you have so much, have you had a chance to do any reading?
Well, you have to read, in my opinion. If you're a writer, you have words come in. To get words out, you have to have words come in. So I never stop reading, even if I'm only reading 10 minutes a day before bed. So right now, I'm actually reading Dating by the Book by Marianne Marlowe, my fellow 17 scribe. Yes, that's adorable. And I recently finished Husband Material by Emily Belden. She's a fellow Graydon House author. And aside from that, I'm reading a lot of self-help books, sort of one to kind of research for this book that I'm editing now, but also I'm just kind of a self-help junkie. So, I just finished Atomic Habits, because I do have clearly a very packed schedule, and I need to be as productive as possible in the hours that I'm given to work. Right.
Because you are also a mom, so you have to you have to balance those things. What are you and your kiddo reading this summer? Anything fun?
Yeah, so he just finished kindergarten, and his reading has just taken off this year. It's amazing. So independently, we're reading it together, but he's able to read the Bad Kitty series alone, and oh my gosh, that is the greatest. It was recommended to me by my fellow author Suzanne Park, and it was just they're so funny and really great and have great messages. And then together, we're also reading the Harry Potter series, which I have never read Harry Potter before. Because it was just, I don't know, it never.
You said that on Twitter, right? That you.
I was Instagramming it, yeah. So, but then he was interested in it. I was like, okay, well, we'll get it from the library, and I got sucked in. I am total Potterhead now. I took the quiz. I'm a Ravenclaw. My son's a Ravenclaw. We're obsessed. So now what we're doing is we're reading the book, and it's slow going because we just read a little bit every day. Right. And I read it out loud to him. So we read a book, and when we're done, then we watch the movie. So we recently finished book 5, and we're in the middle of watching the Order of the Phoenix movie now.
Okay. Does he like the movies?
Yeah, he does, but it's so funny because my husband's not reading them with us, but we'll watch the movies together. And so my son and I will totally nerd out over the movie. They cut that scene out, and they're not explaining this properly, and there's the room of requirement, right? All this stuff. And my husband's just can you guys just please be quiet and let me enjoy this movie?
Yes. I love that even at 5, your son is that is not right. That's not the same as it was in the book. That's perfect. Well, cool. Let's see. I've been nosy about your reading, as I always am. I know you have a website, so can you share the website as well as where people can find you on social media?
Yeah, my website's KristinRockaway.com. And I'm on social media. My handles for all my social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even Pinterest, is Kristin Rockaway, all one word. I'm mostly on Instagram nowadays, but honestly, I'm not that's where I'm the most active. That kind of feeds into my other ones. I'm on Twitter sometimes too. But And you could sign up for my newsletter at KristinRockaway.com. I don't send it out too often, but I'll be sending one out this week about events and appearances I'm doing in New York and in Southern California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to talk about any of those that are coming up?
So on I'm going to New York for the RWA conference at the end of the month, which coincides nicely with my book release. So on the 24th, I'll be in Bryant Park on a panel. There's a lunchtime panel, a lot of romance. I'll be with some authors, including, I think, Tracy Livesay, Sharice Hodges, Abby Jimenez, and two others that I can't remember right at the moment. Oh, Jesse Mahalik. And then the 25th, I'll be at RWA. If you're going to RWA, I'll be at the Harlequin signing. The 29th is my book launch at Books Are Magic in Brooklyn, which I'm so excited about because that's the neighborhood I used to live in Brooklyn, and it's also the neighborhood. It's also the neighborhood that Mel lives in How to Hack a Heartbreak. So that's super, appropriate. And then I'll be back in San Diego. I'll be doing Warwick again, which is the best independent bookstore. It's the oldest independent bookstore in San Diego. And I will be in LA at the Rosatis in September, and I'll be doing the San Diego Festival of Books. I might be missing a couple in there, but you can just check my website at KristinRockaway.com/events or sign up for my newsletter.
Okay. Thank you for that. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to mention about the book or about the book release? Anything that we haven't covered?
I don't think so. I think we've covered all our bases, Sarah. I think so.
Okay. And actually, did for people who maybe didn't hear the first interview, do you want to give a quick synopsis of Wild Woman's Guide to Traveling the World, or would that confuse your brain?
Oh my God! I know. I'm like, let me get the back of the book because I'm like, I can't even remember at this point. So Sophie, she follows Sophie. She's also in New York. She works at consulting firm. She travels a lot for work, and she is going on her first girls trip, like a vacation, no work, to Hong Kong. And on the first day there, her best friend, who she goes on this girls trip with, abandons her because she misses her boyfriend back in New York. So she leaves, and Sophie's like, you know what, I'm gonna stay. And then she meets a handsome guy, and Sophie is all about. Sophie's very much a planner. She has her 5-year life plan mapped out, and then she meets Carson, who is very much not a planner. He is bumming around on his trust fund kind of guy, and they strike up a vacation romance, and Sophie thinks that it's just gonna be for a few days in Hong Kong, but life has other plans for her. So.
Thank you for
that. That's pretty much it, right? Did I miss anything? I don't know. I can't.
No, I think that I think that sounds right. Yes, and then of course things go from there, as they always do in romantic comedies, which are one of my favorites. So, thank you so much for taking the time on this first day of your release month. You can celebrate all month, I think, kind of like a birthday month. I think release month should count. And, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks again for having me. It was great to chat again.
So once again, thank you to Kristin for taking the time to talk to me about her new book, How to Hack a Heartbreak. It will be available soon. It is available for pre-order now. As I said before, it is such a great summer read, such a great vacation read, just a good escapist read if you're looking for a romantic comedy and one that's going to make you laugh, going to make you just frustrated with some of the characters, but frustrated in a good I love to hate this character kind of way, and just some great female relationships, some not so great male-female relationships, but that's kind of the point of the book. So I loved it, and I think if you're a fan of romantic comedy, then you will love it as well. And in wonderful timing, I just saw on Facebook today, on Kristin's Facebook page, that if you have not read her debut novel, The Wild Woman's Guide to Traveling the World. It is currently on sale on Amazon. If you want to read it on Kindle, you can get it for just $2.99 for a limited time. So you can pre-order this book. You can read the first book for just $2.99, which is awesome. And you'll have your summer reading blocked out, at least for a little while. So thank you again to Kristin. Thank you, as always, to you, my listeners. Hope you're having a wonderful 4th of July, and I look forward to talking to you next time when we're going to be talking about plants, but maybe not in the way that, we'll see. Books and plants and a couple other things. So let's just tune in to find out what the heck I'm talking about. Hopefully I'll have it all sorted out in my own head before we get there. Thank you so much. Have a great 4th of July, and hopefully in between the fireworks, you can find some time to get lost in a good book.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.